Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Antoinette, can I get a roll call?
Mr. Cook?
Present.
Mr. Adriano?
Here.
Mr. Rogan?
Here.
Mr. Williams?
Here. Mrs. Smith is not with us tonight. She had an unfortunate incident with a family member, so she has been taken away. First on tonight's agenda is a public hearing for, I never say it right, Greenergy Productions. Got it. Don, you have the legal notice?
I do. Notice a public hearing on public assembly permit, Town of Patterson, County of Putnam, State of New York. Excuse me. Please take notice that by resolution of the Town Board of the Town of Patterson, New York, adopted at a meeting of said board on May 9th, 2018, a public hearing will be held by the Town Board of the Town of Patterson, New York at Town Hall, 1142 Route 311, Patterson, New York, on June 13, 2018, at 7 p.m. o'clock, or as soon thereafter as the matter can be heard, to consider the application of Greenergy Productions, LLC, submitted pursuant to Chapter 51 of the Town Code for a public assembly permit to host the Putnam County Wine and Food Festival at the premises located at 13 Burdick Road, Patterson, New York, 12563, on Saturday, August 25, 2018, and Sunday, August 26, 2018. At said public hearing, all persons interested in the subject matter thereof shall have the opportunity to be heard. A full and complete copy of the aforesaid application is on file with the town clerk and available for review. The town board will make every effort to assure that the hearing is accessible to persons with disabilities. Anyone requiring special assistance and/or reasonable accommodations should contact the town clerk. Dated May 10, 2018, by order of the town board of the Town of Patterson, Antoinette Kopek, town clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Rossi.
You're welcome.
Mrs. Drummond, would you like to come up and tell everybody about your event? Well, no, you don't have to.
You can remain silent.
This is like free advertising here.
What do you need to know about the event? It's a 2-day festival featuring Hudson Valley winery spirits, ciders. We're also going to have cooking demonstrations, live music. Can you hear me now?
Wonderful.
Sorry about that. Okay, so we're going to have a cooking demonstration and a mixology demonstration. It's for the entire family and some kids' activities.
And it will be held right here at the Patterson Fire Department.
Yes.
The hours? The hours?
The hours are from Saturdays 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Sundays 11 a.m. to 5 p.m.
I would ask that any member of the audience that has any questions or comments on the application, if you'd like to approach the microphone and give your name for the record and ask your question or make your comment. Hearing none, can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next on the agenda is a public hearing for the Victory Cup. It will be held at 3J Ranch. Don, do you have the public notice for that?
I do. Notice a public hearing on public assembly permit, Town of Patterson, County of Putnam, State of New York. Please take notice that by resolution of the Town Board of the Town of Patterson, New York, adopted at a meeting of said board on May 23, 2018, a public hearing will be held by the Town Board of the Town of Patterson, New York at Town Hall, 1142 Route 311, Patterson, New York, on June 13, 2018, at 7 p.m. o'clock, or as soon thereafter as the matter can be heard, to consider the application of Blackstone USA DBA The Victory Cup, submitted pursuant to Chapter 51 of the Town Code, for a public assembly permit to host the Victory Cup, which includes a polo match, at the premises located at 683 Route 311, Patterson, New York, 12563, on Saturday, July 14, 2018. At said public hearing, all persons interested in the subject matter thereof shall have the opportunity to be heard. A full and complete copy of the aforesaid application is on file with the town clerk and available for review. The town board will make every effort to assure that the hearing is accessible to persons with disabilities. Anyone requiring special assistance and/or reasonable accommodations should contact the town clerk. Dated May 24, 2018, by order of the town board of the town of Patterson, Antoinette Kopek, town clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Rossi. Mr. Lockmeyer?
Yes.
Did I say that correctly?
Yes, you did.
Okay. Would you like to tell everybody about your event?
Sure, absolutely. The Victory Cup is a polo match. We're a national event. We've been here in Patterson, I guess, for 6 years now at the 3J Ranch. It's an exhibition polo match, but it's also a food and wine festival as well. Kid-friendly, pet-friendly. Just a lot of fun, one-day event, Saturday, July 14th at 3J Ranch, right down the road from here.
Okay. I would ask again that if anybody has any questions or comments on the application, if you'd approach the mic and give your name for the record, ask your question or make your comment. Any board member have any comments or questions? I do have a couple. Joe and I had a conversation this afternoon about some of the questions that I do have. I don't think there's anything that is, significantly deficient within the application, with the one exception that I'm most concerned about, and that is they will be using the neighbor's property adjacent to this site for parking. And I think we need to have some sort of written agreement
Yeah.
showing that you do have permission.
So I have an agreement that I can share with you that we have with Mr. Capasso, the property owner, and then he has the agreement with the adjacent property. We do also have parking on Joe Capasso's property as well. So that is overflow parking.
That was one of my other questions.
Yes.
Was whether
Yeah,
you
so
could
that-
park on Joe's property as well.
Yeah, exactly. So that lot is overflow parking for safety, just in case we get overwhelmed. We have a place to park overflow.
I would still
spots
want to
as well.
see a written agreement between, and again, it doesn't have to be
Mhm.
a really extensive agreement, but a written agreement between the two property owners.
Not a problem.
Okay. I want to point out to you that the maximum decibel level at the property line for the event is going to be limited to 65 decibels. Of course, you know you need to get approval from our Director of Code Enforcement for all the tents and make sure they're all laid out, work with him going forward. We did talk about the EMTs. You were going to provide to us the name of the company providing the EMTs as well.
Yeah, we're planning to have two EMTs on site for the whole day, and
Good.
I'll share that contract with you as soon as we have
Okay.
it.
All right. And I need the number of portable restrooms that you'll have out there.
I can share that with you as well.
Yeah, okay.
We're planning on 75, one restroom for every 75 people is what they recommended for us to
Okay,
have.
that would be
So,
perfect.
Yeah,
Okay. That's it.
great, thank you very much.
Anybody else have any questions or comments? Since nobody else has any, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn, to close the public hearing. To adjourn as well.
Motion to
Aye,
adjourn.
close the public
I'm
hearing.
ready.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, third public hearing.
You have his name.
Excuse me?
You have his name.
I do, Joe Bachmeyer. Not gonna stay around to see if you get your permits. Okay.
They think it's done.
All right, do you have the notice for the local law?
That's a good question. Another Town of Patterson notice of hearing. Amendments to Chapter 150 of the Patterson Town Code. Public notice is hereby given that there has been introduced before the Town Board of the Town of Patterson, New York, on May 9, 2018, an amendment to Patterson Town Code, Chapter 150, entitled Vehicles and Traffic, which amendment will revise Section 150-12 entitled, quote, "Parking Prohibited at All Times," end quote, to clarify the locations where parking is restricted and to restrict the parking of cars on the west side of Waterford Drive. Now therefore, pursuant to Section 20 of the Municipal Home Rule Law, the Town Board of the Town of Patterson, New York will hold a public hearing on the aforesaid amendment at the town offices, 1142 Route 311, Patterson, New York, on June 13, 2018, at 7 p.m. in the evening of that day, or as soon thereafter as may be held, at which time all persons interested therein shall be heard. The town board will make every effort to assure that the hearing is accessible to persons with disabilities. Anyone requiring assistance and/or reasonable accommodation should contact the town clerk, dated May 9, 2018, by order of the town board of the town of Patterson, Antoinette Kopek, town clerk.
So everybody aware is what we're doing. The town of Patterson, through the Putnam Lake Park District, operates a beach on Waterford Drive. Waterford Drive, Warren Beach. And there has been a deficiency in parking as the beach is gaining more popularity. So this year, Russ Goff, Highway Superintendent, went out and created some additional parking out there. But to have it function safely, we need to restrict parking to only one side of the road out there, and that's what this local law, in essence, is doing. There are a couple of other tweaks that, I did do while we were doing that law. I also restricted any parking on Putnam Lake Dam or the driveway of the Putnam Lake Dam. But that's essentially what we're doing with this local law, is we're restricting parking from the east side of the road and allowing additional parking on the, no, I said it backwards. We're restricting parking on the west side of the road, and we're going to provide for additional parking on the east side of the road. So I would ask anybody that has any questions or comments, if you could approach the mic and give your name. Going once.
Hi, Deborah Lawler. My question, I guess, is so where will people park when there is a swim meet? I saw the lines, and I mean, currently, I know Russ is crazy busy. There's a lot of debris on it. It was cleaned up. I'm just, I know in the past when they had a home swim meet, there were a lot of people that would try to come down to see their kids. Just wondering.
All the parking will be on the east side of the road. We've actually provided more spaces on the east side now than we did when we were using both sides of the road. And when you're using both sides of the road, it really constricts it down and make it unsafe.
Yeah, no, I understand. I totally understand the reason. I'm just wondering if all those spots are filled, then where would people park?
That would be a lot of people. That would be a lot of people at this point. I've never seen it completely.
I have.
I've seen the road filled up, but when you're doing both sides, I think with the additional parking, we should be in good
How
shape.
many additional spots did it create?
10?
10.
I think that's what it was, right, Mike? Yeah.
Okay, so there's really no answer. We'll just have to deal with it,
If we still have a problem with parking out there, we're going to have to adjust the plan.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I get a motion on the reports?
I'll make a motion that we approve the reports that have been, that have been submitted to the town board for this month. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I get a motion on the supervisor's report?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the supervisory report for the months of March and April, so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have one correction that we need to make on the supervisor's report for the month of February. Does everybody have that? Somebody
Yes.
like to make a motion to accept the amended report?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes.
I will make a motion that the town board approve the town board meeting minutes, May 9th, May 23rd, and June 8th, 2018. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I will make a motion that the town board approve abstract number 10, dated May 25th, 2018, in the amount of $284,411.81. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Cook.
Next, we have a resolution as it pertains to the Victory Cup, which we just heard about. And we have a resolution here. So I will make a motion to enter this resolution into the record as read. So moved.
Second.
Discussion. The resolution, if I can find my copy. Yeah, no, I need my copy. Has a number of conditions on it. Joe come? Yeah, Joe did come back. All right, so I want to make you aware of the conditions, and I would also like to add a couple of conditions in as well. So, condition number 1, compliance by the applicant with the representations and commitments as set forth in the application as amended, the town code and all other applicable laws, rules, and regulations. Confirmation with all necessary written approvals of the Putnam County Health Department is required under Town Code Chapter 51 are obtained. Submission to the town of proof of insurance is required under Town Code Chapter 51 in a form satisfactory to the town attorney. I know the insurance has been submitted. We'll have to follow up and see what specific issues there are. Go ahead. All right. The applicant shall provide the town clerk written documentation in a form acceptable to the town attorney that parking for the event may occur on the adjacent property owned by John Servitor. And the applicant shall comply with all New York State Building and Fire Code requirements to the satisfaction of the Patterson Director of Code Enforcement. And I've also added another, be it resolved, that if any of the aforementioned conditions are not met in full, the public assembly permit shall be null and void, and the Victory Cup event shall be canceled. Is that satisfactory, Joe?
I don't think that'll be a problem.
Okay. So, would you like to amend your motion to add the additional language?
I will make a motion that the town board approve the additional language as submitted by the supervisor with regard to the Victory Cup resolution,
And approve the resolution?
and approve the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? One down. Feeling lucky.
Next, we have conference requests, and we have 2 conference requests from the staff in the assessor's office. One is to attend a seminar in White Plains, and the estimated cost not to exceed $54.28. So I will make a motion that the town board approve this conference request. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Next, we have another staff member in the assessor's office, a conference in New Windsor, New York, with has a registration fee of $150 plus the mileage and toll. It brings it to $188. So I'll make a motion that the town board approve this conference request form in an amount not to exceed $190. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have on our agenda Women of Distinction, and we talked about this a meeting or so back, and I'm happy to say that based on my recommendation to the town board, that the Woman of Distinction for 2018 is Mary Ann Burdick. Mary Ann works for the Putnam County Health Department, and she's also on the town zoning board. She has a bachelor's degree from Penn State University and a master's from New York Medical College. Mary Ann was key in the development of a number of Department of Health initiatives, including development of the Putnam County Smoking in Public Places Law, for which she received proclamation from Putnam County, which received national accreditation for the Department of Health, and creating a rabies vaccination clinic program for residents, and creating the Putnam County Feral Cat Task Force. Mary Ann has a strong passion for animal advocacy, as demonstrated by her work in developing the Feral Cat Task Force. And in her free time, she enjoys gardening, hiking, wildlife viewing, horseback riding, and photography. This is a program that's run each year by State Senator Terrence Murphy, and we were very pleased to submit Mary Ann's name, and she was recognized, I guess it was last week, for all these accomplishments. So again, we congratulate Mary Ann, and we happy to have her not only as a lifelong resident of Patterson, but working for the Putnam County Department of Health, which improves all our lives. So, thank you.
Both Sean and I attended the ceremony last week, and it was just a wonderful ceremony with a lot of great women who were honored by Terrence Murphy.
I know I can say that Mary Ann would be the last person that would want recognition for anything that she does in her career, but it certainly goes a long way to get a pat on the back once in a while, so thank you for that.
Sean, you're up.
Okay, first item, this year we have had difficulties in getting the number of lifeguards properly trained that we need for all of our beaches in Patterson. So I am happy to move the request from our park supervisor, Joe Downey, for the Veterans Memorial Park to hire Hugh Smith at a rate of $10 an hour for the 2018 season, with the understanding, of course, that he needs to get all of his certifications in order before actually starting work. So I'll move that request.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Secondly, for the Veterans Park Advisory Board, just an acknowledgement. Unfortunately, one of our Park Advisory Board members, Bettina Carey, has resigned from that position due to family medical issues. I want to acknowledge that Bettina has been a hard worker and an asset to that committee, so we will certainly miss her, but we want to thank her publicly for her service to the town of Patterson, most specifically the Veterans Park Advisory Board. So thank you, Bettina Carey, for the work that you have volunteered to this community, and I'm sure she will be involved in the future as well. But at this point in time, family comes first, and I know that everybody would agree that when someone needs to spend time with their family and take care of medical issues, then that's where they need to be. So thank you to Bettina Carey. The next issue we have, we had discussed last summer actually, we had made amendments to our lifeguard policy. More specifically, we discussed the training needs for the head guards, and we had made an amendment that would require our head lifeguards to have, in addition to all the other safety trainings like lifeguarding and CPR and first aid and waterfront skills, we had required within our code that they also have a lifeguard management class. The board may remember that at that time, one of the reasons that we amended the policy was because the course was easily obtainable and very cheap. And so that was a course that gives great leadership skills for our head guards. Unfortunately, as of this year, the course, which is required every 2 years for certification, is $120 through the American Red Cross. So I think when we had made the changes to our policy, that level of financial commitment for that specific class wasn't
As onerous as it is now.
It wasn't as onerous, thank you, that's the word I was looking for. So I think we need to reevaluate this policy. My recommendation would be for at least the person that manages the guards to have this training class, because the class is designed for teaching someone the proper skills to oversee a waterfront. And so while every head lifeguard may not need those skills, I think that it would still be good for the managing the administrator of the guards to have. And I believe we had a request for, is her name Monique?
Monique.
Monique?
Monique.
Oh, there she is. Hi, you weren't sitting there a minute ago. How are you? Snuck in. You should sit up front so the camera can see you. Just teasing. But, so Monique, you've taken or you're in the process of
I
taking?
took the class and I've submitted everything.
Great. So thank you for doing that. And of course, we will reimburse for that course. But, so I think for discussion then with the board, we're looking at amending our policy to remove the language that was put in previously for the requirements for a head guard, which had been previously adopted August 23rd of 17. And really, we're just looking at removing one of the bulleted items. It's not required by any health code for this type of a beach and this type of a job. So I guess discussion. Anybody have any thoughts on it? Or?
No, I was all in favor of adding this in because, like you said, it develops great skills in our guards. But at the time I had looked at it, which was early in last season, there wasn't a cost.
Yeah.
So it was just a little bit of extra time on the part of our lifeguards.
Yeah.
At $120 to pay all the head lifeguards, it would add significantly to the budgets of both
Yeah.
districts. Monique, I don't know if you want to address the board on any of the other issues?
I mean.
Can you just come to the mic, please?
Uh-oh.
Thank you.
You knew it wasn't going to be that easy.
You're on the hot seat.
I mean, our main concern with the policy that was given, the head guard policy, is really that with the limited number of guards that we do have this year, that we will not be able to,
Here we go.
can you hear me now?
Sorry.
Hold on one second.
Oh, okay.
Maybe not.
You jinxed it, Paul.
Hey, Paul, now you're on camera, which is a rarity. You know, you're always the man behind the scenes. I think you should. There we go. Okay.
Wave to the camera.
It's okay. I was saying our main concern with the head guard policy that had been emailed and given out to everybody just a few days before we opened for the season was the fact that with the limited number of guards that we only have 6 right now. Not many of them can fulfill according to what's on that policy to be a head guard, and we need a head guard to open beaches.
Sure.
So with that policy in state, we honestly won't be able to open much this season.
And I believe the issue is the number of hours that we're requiring for head guards.
Yeah, it's the, because it says there has to be 100 hours within 2 seasons, and 50 of those hours being in the Patterson Town Board, working for you guys. And the only thing is, we do have people that definitely have acquired the 50 hours, but definitely not the 100 hours, maybe within 2 seasons. So I guess what we're trying to ask is if we can kind of adjust it a little, because if we keep that policy and we somehow can obtain newer guards throughout the season, it still won't help because those guards who could be head guards still won't meet the requirements that are needed for it.
So here's what I'd recommend to the board. I've already been working on a strategy because, we're losing lifeguards. They're moving away, they're growing up. And we certainly don't have the number of lifeguards that we used to have. We need to address that. So I've been working on a strategy to provide a training program early next year for younger kids that the town would actually pay to train them as lifeguards so that they could get that certification, and then, at the end of the season, they would have to pay for it up front out of pocket. At the end of the season, if they worked a sufficient number of hours, we would reimburse them. But as a way to start building a new group of lifeguards for both Veterans Park and Putnam Lake. For this year, I would like to ask the board to suspend the number of hours that an individual has to meet in order to be a practicing lifeguard. There's not much we can do about the 2-year requirement because that's in civil service law. But the hours that we put in there, the 100 hours of experience plus the 50 hours at one of our beaches seems to be a little bit onerous this year for the returning lifeguards that we have.
So we could waive it for
We
this
could
year?
waive it
This
for
is
thi-
just for the head lifeguard,
Right.
that's what we're talking about.
So I'd like to waive it for this year. We've already amended the policy, so we're gonna take out that, and I'll issue a new amended policy to everybody.
Okay.
And then we'll just waive the need to have the number of hours we've specified within the policy.
I think what's important to point out is that we are not putting people at risk by changing this policy. This is an above and beyond from what's required at any other public bathing beach anywhere in New York State. This is just more quality assurance within the town. And I like the idea of creating a training program. Getting lifeguards is always difficult for every town. I don't know why that is, because they make the most money. It's probably one of the best jobs for a teenager or a college student to have. But for some reason, we have a problem getting lifeguards. So I guess the message is, if you're watching at home and you have a teenager who's not working, tell them to go become a lifeguard and get them a job, because we're
Please.
certainly hiring. Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So then I'll make a motion that we amend the official policy for head lifeguard as discussed, with the lifeguard management coming out of the certification list and amending for this year, or at least waiving for this year, the hours requirement from the current policy. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next.
In a perfect world, but I guess the world isn't so perfect, right? So next, there's also been some discussion with the Veterans Park the Putnam Lake Park Advisory Board, my apologies, on possible acquisition of a property that is known as the Castle Restaurant. The idea is that that could potentially become a great property for the Park District, for meeting space, for a variety of uses. We have been, and the supervisor has been, collecting information along with input from the park board to further evaluate that property. The supervisor has prepared a little bit of information for the board, but in essence, it comes down to knowing what we're getting into with this property and what the capital outlay will be for the property, along with improvements. And so I believe, after discussing this with Rich, that a good logical next step is for this board to meet out on site with and gain access to the property, to fully evaluate the current condition, have some ideas on what the future use would be, so that we can really do our due diligence on this. It's obviously not to be taken lightly. It is a considerable expense, but the park board has seen some great potential in this property, and we want to certainly work with them on this. So I think, Rich, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think a great next step, as you had mentioned, was getting out there on a good old-fashioned site visit.
Correct.
Right,
Yes.
Charlie?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And doing a further evaluation. So maybe we can arrange that.
So I have contacted the Realtor, and I've been having discussions with him on the property. He is generally available in the evening before 6 o'clock, or a early Saturday morning, if anybody else would prefer that. So what's the board's availability?
I think we should do a 4 o'clock site walk and a 5 o'clock swim.
Only if the health...
If the lifeguards are there.
Wait, no, only if the health
Okay.
department opens
If
the
the-
beach, huh?
If the beach is open
Yeah,
and...
walked into that one.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see what we can do. But, no, I'm good with either, whatever. anybody
What are we
wants
looking
to
at?
do. An evening, we don't have a date yet, just maybe an evening in the next week or two.
Yeah.
4:30, something like that.
Anybody
Well,
want to
we
throw
just
any
send
dates
in
out?
what nights are good. I mean, I'm not
Okay.
sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Like
All
I
right,
can tell you
Mike,
next month.
you have
it's not
any
good.
dates that are better?
No.
Okay, we're doing it on Friday.
We'll throw out maybe 2 or 3 dates.
All right, then I'll just throw out your dates and I'll circulate them to everybody and we'll go on. I also have received comments on the bylaws and the prospectus from the town attorney that I'll share with everybody.
Like, Rich, if I'd like to attend, with the sidewalk, I'd like to be on with you. I think it'd be good to be
Okay.
on the same page. No,
All right. I was also gonna drag the town attorney in. Anybody have a town,
Into the water or
no,
into the...
no, town engineer in onto the sidewalk.
Sounds like
Yeah,
good.
we all know what we're talking about.
Yeah. Good.
Okay.
Thank
Thank you. Anything else? Okay. First on my agenda is the Fox Run Water District. Unfortunately, during the storm, we had an issue with the generator out there that was powering the water treatment system. The fan actually came off after running for a considerable amount of time. Didn't damage the radiator, so it was just repairing the fan and the water pump. Unfortunately, the repair estimate on that was for $5,114.90. And we need to have that generator in service, so I did authorize going ahead, but I am looking for the board to approve the repairs so that Trish will actually pay it. So if I could make a motion to approve Peak Power Systems repair estimate in the amount of $5,114.90.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we provided you with some additional information. We recently did some electrical work out there. While we were doing the electrical work, we saw that there were some issues ongoing with the control panels. And we did, I believe that's still in their package, that we provided you that information. So you can take a look at that, and hopefully we can bring that up next meeting and talk a little bit about that. Essentially, what it is we've got two different proposals to do two different layers of work. Of course, the most expensive one, which we're still evaluating whether we can afford, would do, you know, the whole soup to nuts, what we need to do with the control panel, while the other one is just patching it up one more time. So, all right, next on my agenda is the Patterson Hamlet wastewater treatment plant. One of the tanks in the Paul filters is cracked. We've received an estimate from Paul to repair the tank. Essentially, it has to be replaced for the amount of $10,515.90. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve Paul to repair the tank for the Paul microfiltration unit. Set amount. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, last Wednesday I met with representatives of the DEC and of Gear Bryan. This has to do with the harmful algae bloom plan that's being developed by the state. The specific topic that we were discussing at the meeting was the Putnam Lake Regional Wastewater System. The wastewater treatment option being evaluated is one of several components of what will be part of the plan being developed by the state to combat harmful algae blooms. The plan that O'Brien Gear presented is currently developing, that they are currently developing, has shrunk the service area for providing wastewater treatment from providing the treatment to the whole lake to a service area of approximately 250 feet from the shoreline of the lake. Yes, gentlemen, you're still in it. The driving reason for this change was the overall cost to the sewer that the whole, for sewering the whole lake area, and the cost versus benefit of providing sewers to homes that are greater distance from the lake. The service area would include about 250 residential homes. The cost to construct the wastewater collection system for around 250 homes would be approximately $15 million. O'Brien Gear suggests that diverting wastewater from the surface area would remove about 317 pounds of phosphorus from the lake. While this may seem like a lot of phosphorus, I would remind everyone that estimating a 317-pound reduction is based on a number of assumptions which may or may not be true. And second, they are unable to tell me what percentage the 317 pounds of phosphorus is the overall amount of phosphorus entering the lake, which is likely to be close to 2,000 pounds. There was a long discussion on the need to develop an overall phosphorus budget for the lake, including estimates on the amount of phosphorus being contributed to the lake from each source. The $15 million was the cost of the collection system without a wastewater treatment plant. Their plan currently is to divert the wastewater to either the Watchtower plant or the Mount Evo plant. As of the date of the meeting that we held, no one had reached out to the owners of either plant to be to see if they would be willing to accept the additional wastewater. O'Brien Care did not have the estimate also of what the ongoing operation and maintenance might look like, which is going to be a cost to the residents. They acknowledged that the cost of the $15 million for 250 residents was completely unaffordable without significant financial assistance from the state. At that meeting, I was also informed that the state is looking to release the HAB plan by the end of this week. I asked if it would be a draft for public comment or a final plan. It looks like there will not be a draft plan for public comment. However, there is still a great deal of uncertainty in the program about how things are unfolding. So I will keep everybody, again, appraised of what's going on, and when the plan gets released, we'll make sure it's on our website. Anybody have any questions? Okay. And my executive session has to do with a personnel issue, a follow-up from Friday, and I will defer that to the end of the meeting. Mary Smith is not with us, so
I'll cover it if you want.
go for it.
Okay. So the first item,
Bless you.
God bless. The first item is the local law number 4, which pertains to the parking, as discussed earlier over on Waterford Drive. So I will make a motion, and we have a resolution covering everything. So I'll make a motion to enter the resolution into the record as read. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Recreation requests. They have 3 of them. First one, all 3 are from Matt Chabarro. They relate to shirts relative to recreation programs, especially with the summer camps. Each request, we received 2 bidders. So I'll just say that with regard to Matt, some handwriting lessons here. Drift performance.
Sports Tech Drift Fit Performance.
Dry fit.
What's this one?
Dry Fit?
Dry fit.
Dry Fit.
Will award to Select Sports, an amount not to exceed, Select Sportswear, not to exceed $523. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next, similar, but it's for the Basketball League Championship, 14 shirts, and an amount not to exceed $159. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Next is T-shirts for the pre-K program, 36, at an amount not to exceed $252. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we have the sale of town equipment. The Highway Department has put up various pieces of equipment. These go to, for auction, and we received bids for everything from a 2010 Dodge Ram 3500 model truck, the plows, 5 plows. So I will make and we have a resolution for that. So I will make a motion that the town board approve the resolution as read and enter it into the record. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Peter?
First item on my agenda, the public assembly permit for Greenergy Productions. So we had our public hearing. There's no issues. We have a resolution to approve the permit, so I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution as written. So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in
No,
favor?
no, I was just happy that they're at the fire department this year, because a lot of the issues we had last year relating to people walking up and down 22, transporting, it seems like that'll all be resolved by them being at the firehouse, so we're happy about that.
Very.
Thank you.
Second item, I have EMS request from our EMS administrator for, to approve switching to Tech Medical Services as a provider for mandatory test, or annual mandatory testing for employees. We were using a service, I guess, that was quite a distance down in Westchester, and Tech Medical is a lot closer, more convenient for our EMS workers. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution as written, approving the agreement with Tech Medical Services. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And while we're talking about our EMS administrator, I just want to thank her. I know she's been working overtime on her own time trying to get the application into REMSCO for the final, for the ambulance service, to make it, to certify it as a permanent ambulance service. And it's so important that we get that done for our community, because the alternative for us to provide ambulance service is to actually retain an outside consultant at 3 times the cost of what we're currently paying. So, so important that we get this ambulance service up and running so that everything is made safe for our residents. So I thank you, Denise.
Thank you, Denise.
Next, I have a budget transfers. I'd like to make a motion for budget request number 16 from contingent account for $20,823 to ambulance equipment and capital outlay for $20,823. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Next, I have budget adjustment request number 17. An increase from the fund balance designated capital project for $25,000. An increase of ambulance equipment and capital outlay for $25,000. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And just so you all know, the state has refunded the money that we outlaid for the carp gate. So
Oh.
we've gotten that money back.
Excellent. That's a long time coming.
Long time.
Next, county bid for electricity. So, do we have the comparables from?
We do. Charlie and I actually went through them today with Trish. Do you have it with you?
So was the Putnam?
It's not a huge savings to the town. We are not going to include the lighting district in all this.
Okay.
But it is currently, under our current rate, a savings about $2,000, just under $2,000 a year. However, the concern that we have is it never seems that things get cheaper. So we can anticipate that the electric rates are going to be going higher, and potentially even higher still because of all the issues with Indian Point. So it would be good to lock this in right now. Which is also the county. What we're doing is we're piggybacking on the back of a county bid.
Is that why the rate slightly increases the longer the term, because they're basically locking into a lower amount now than what they anticipate?
For 1 year, they have a reasonable number to project off of. Projecting out 3 years, what they may have to purchase the electric rates for is there's a little bit more uncertainty in it.
Okay.
So they generally will escalate the rates.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to accept the resolution as written for acceptance of the bid, Putnam County for electrical supply for 36 months. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. And that is it.
That is it. All right, I've got a couple of things. Anybody else have any other business?
I just have one thing.
Go ahead.
Just want to mention, we had, last Saturday, we had a child passenger safety car seat check at the rec center. It was a joint, it was hosted by the Patterson Rec Center and Health Quest Community Education. I was involved with that. We had 9 child car seats come in that were improperly installed, and we actually gave out 2 booster seats for for people that needed seats. So it was a very successful event. It was originally supposed to be for 3 hours, but we had to scale it back for 2 hours because there was another event at the rec center, but it was very successful. So I want to thank Matt Chabarro and the staff that helped out and helped prepare for it and helped advertise. So made 9 children more safe, actually 11 children more safe in this town. So.
That's great.
And I'd like to thank you for doing that. I know you volunteered to take your time and do that and make everybody safer. So thank you. Anybody else? All right, I do have a couple of employee issues that we need to address real quick. We've been searching both for court officers and a part-time court clerk. We received today recommendations from the judges on who they would like to see us appoint. And we do have resolutions here, and I'd like to introduce the first resolution to hire a court attendant by the name of Michael Garrity. His start date is June 18th, is it not? Yeah, June 18th, at an hourly rate of $23.77. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The second one is we've been out without a part-time clerk over in the court, which has put a lot of strain on the 2 full-time clerks that we have over there. The judges have done a number of interviews off of the civil service list we received from Putnam County, and they have made a recommendation for the town board to hire Joanne Rella. Said that right, Rella? Yeah. For an hourly rate of $15 an hour, again, with a start date of June 18th. So I'd like to make a motion, or I'd like to introduce this resolution and ask that it be read into the record as read. For the employment of Joanne M. Rella. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have had working at our front desk for quite some time now, a young woman, Lois Moss, who has been phenomenal down there. I think everybody is very pleased with her. She also took the test for part-time clerk. And with everything we've been doing to look for a clerk for the court, she is now reachable on the list. And appointing her to a civil service position would not only give her additional protection with the town, but it would also allow us to use her for a few more hours should we need to do so. So there's some benefit to the town for doing that. So I'd like to introduce this resolution to hire Lois Moss as a part-time permanent clerk at an hourly rate of $12.24. So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Yeah, just one point of discussion. First of all, Lois is fantastic. She has worked for the Veterans Park Advisory Board, doing the minutes for years, and I know she gets paid on that as a separate line. We've known her, how many years has she worked off and on for the town? It seems like.
Oh, I mean, for the Park Advisory Board, 12,
Long time.
15 years?
Yeah.
Long time.
And I just wanted to make the distinction between the part-time court clerk that we just hired, who we don't have, who I'm sure is wonderful, we don't have any experience with. Is the difference between the two positions that the part-time court clerk is also a paralegal, and that therefore gets her a $15 an hour salary versus Lois, who we know and has been with us for years, who we're starting at $12 an hour?
The problem is, unfortunately, in this environment, we have to watch every penny, and as a result, we generally set salaries based on market conditions. When you go into other courts around the county, their part-time clerks are generally all making $15 an hour. So if we want to be competitive, that's what we need to hire a part-time court clerk at.
Yeah. I'm less concerned with Joanne and more concerned with Lois, that $12 an hour seems,
but I think we're going to have
low.
to have a serious conversation about Lois come budget time.
Okay, all right, we'll do that.
I also don't think, even though they're both clerk positions, I don't think they're exactly comparable. Court clerk.
Oh, I'm sure they're not. No, I just wanted to bring it up from the standpoint
But I think Lois is very valuable, so I think it's worth discussing during budget season.
All right, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Ms. Montana, you sent us a memo requesting a check?
Yes.
Did you put a voucher in for that?
It's downstairs. yeah.
Okay.
I signed it
All right.
a little while
Good
ago.
enough, we're done. All right, and that concludes my other business. Public recognition. Any member of the public have anything they wish to bring before the board?
I'm Karen Powers, and I'm here representing the Patterson Library. As we enter the summer months, the library has so many programs that it's impossible for me to talk about them all. But I would suggest that the public go to our website at pattersonlibrary.org and look at our programs, and also at our calendar. You can just click on the calendar and get the event pulled up. There are a couple of programs I would like to talk about, though, and one is a call for artists for our plein air event. The event isn't until August 22nd from 10 to 5, but we're asking area artists to please come forward now so that our adult program team can start planning the event. We're asking area artists to leave their studios behind for one day and come to the park, the library park, and bring their paints and their canvases and their easels and set up in the park. And the public is invited to watch them creating their projects. And an exhibit and reception will take place at the library in September. We really need artists to come forward. So if any of you know local artists who might be interested in coming to this event, please let Lily know at the library. The telephone number is 878-6121. Just ask for Lily or extension 14. And I'll leave some of these with someone up there. I guess maybe
Antoinette.
Antoinette, okay. The second event is the Patterson Historical Society, and that's a week from today, June 20th at 7 p.m. They are presenting something called A Look Back at Neighborhoods East of Croton. And that they will be presenting a fascinating history of Route 22, Birch Hill, Haviland Hollow, and the surrounding neighborhoods east of Croton through personal letters and journals of former residents and photographs from 1910. Right. The last thing I'd like to talk about are museum passes. I don't know how many people know about museum passes, but the library has dozens of museum passes which will get families into museums for free, entire families, or at least at a discounted rate. And those museums go from as far north as the FDR Museum, the Presidential Museum and Library, all the way south to New York City to the Museum of Natural History, which is a great place to take your family, or the Intrepid Museum of Art of Space and Sea and Air, okay? Or, you know, the Museum of New York City, all of these places, a lot of these places are on Fifth Avenue. Some of them are on West, well, the American Museum of Natural Art is on West 79th Street. So, like I said, there are just dozens of these museum passes that now that it's summertime and people are starting to take vacations and travel around a bit more because it's not cold, you can take advantage of this program, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful program. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. Mike Ercole from the Putnam Lake Park District. As far as the lifeguards, I did speak to a few of them. I kind of know why it's a decline. We guarantee them so many hours, and then we have bad weather. When the bad weather comes, they don't work. When they don't work, they don't get paid. So instead of going from like 22 hours a week and making a couple dollars to put in your pocket and gas, you're down to like 8 hours. So I think it's hard to keep someone at a part-time job when possibly they could do 8 or 10 hours a week. So our reasoning second for the castle, other than all the other things we had discussed, if it was to rain or there was bad weather, we can open up the rec center during the swim hours, and then also those lifeguards can come in, keep their hours, and get paid for that time also. But I'm glad you're gonna, I'm hoping Bob from the building department will come too, to take a look at the building, just to,
I was hoping we weren't gonna need Bob. You think
Okay.
it's that bad, huh?
well, I don't know, I just figured, you know, with the, you know, any requirements we might have to do, because if we're gonna open up to public assembly and stuff.
What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get an architect to look at it independent of Bob.
Okay. Second, NYSEG did a phenomenal job in Putnam Lake as far as putting up new poles. They called in a ton, you know, I think there was 85 lift trucks and like 12 pole trucks in Putnam Lake alone, just setting poles and stuff. So they did a great job getting the power back. But you had mentioned the lighting district. When are they going to come out and start putting the lights back up on the poles that were knocked down? Is that something that the individual person that lives in that area is going to call, or do we call the town hall and
Well, you
say,
can call the town hall.
there was
We
3
can
lights
certainly
in this area and now they're not there?
Put a
just for
repair
safety.
request in. I certainly would like to know where there were lights and there aren't lights anymore.
Okay.
And then I can double check.
Some of them are still laying on the ground, you can see them.
I will
but-
tell you, it's, dealing with NYSEG is somewhat of a complicated issue.
I deal with them quite often, yeah.
Trying to understand their tariff agreements to calculate out what the rate should be
Okay.
is very complicated. And I've been trying to work through it because what I'd like to do is start switching from high-pressure sodium.
The LED?
And, yeah, to going to LED. I want to, you know, put up a couple of lights. Actually, I've had Watchtower put up a couple of lights. I have to go check them out. Going up their driveway to see what the lighting is going to look
Okay.
like.
And then
But start
they're cheaper to
switching
run
out.
also.
Yeah, much cheaper.
Right, okay. And then third, we had talked about maybe possibly getting a camera for the basketball court. There's just some things that are going on that we just want to
Okay.
nip in the bud before it escalates with property owners or
We were
other things
talking
going on.
about having the camera for another reason, and that reason
Right.
kind of went away, so, but we can revisit that.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay.
Jennifer Gallagher. I just wondered if you could share with us your latest water results from the New York Bureau of Water Protection for Town Hall.
No, actually, I can't.
You don't have yours?
I don't have mine.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Motion to go into executive session.
Second.
Thank you all for coming.